On this episode, the first gen of what's arguably the most popular nameplate in the Dodge lineup. Welcome back to Your Part, and oh man, it's so good. It's one of my favorite B-bodies of all time. I actually really love these cars, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And I'm so glad my guest Eric was willing to bring it out and show it and share it with us. Eric, tell us what you brought out. And first, thanks for being on, of course, but tell us what you brought out.
Now, this is a 1967 Dodge Charger. It was built on 1 December 1966.
Okay.
And 15 days later, the thing was shipped to a McDonald Motor Company in Big Spring, Texas. So, hence this is a Texas car, which meant that when I found it 38 years ago, that it was in good shape. But I had to do a lot of mechanic work to it.
Okay, speaking of mechanic work, what kind of drivetrain do we have?
Drivetrain is the 383 engine 4-barrel, which is the engine that came in it from factory.
Okay.
And the transmission is a 727B,
okay,
heavy duty. The rear end is a sure grip, what Dodge calls sure grip, the positive traction in Chevrolet.
Yep. Right.
It's a 323 gear.
Okay. And the 66 and 67s are extremely similar in body. I mean, there's basically one variation, but that big, long fastback is just a beautiful body line. Like I said, it's one of my favorite B-bodies, one of my favorite Mopars, actually. The one big telltale on the 66 to 67 is the front, right?
That's correct. It's the turn signal indicator lens.
Okay.
The 66 did not have it.
Yeah, they were flat, right?
They were flat.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Eric and I are going to walk around the car and show it off a little bit more and, you know, show you some of those features that make it a first-gen Charger. So on the first-gen Chargers, one of the telltales is this killer taillight that goes the entire length of the back of the car, or width, I should say, of the back of the car. And that actually lights up all the way across, right? That's correct, yes. Okay. 6 bulbs. Oh, wow, okay.
Total of 6 bulbs.
And it has beautiful chrome trim. There's so much chrome and tin work on this, it's unbelievable. And again, the big sloping fastback are the telltale signs. The 66 and 67 both feature that. And now this one has the optional spoiler, correct?
That is correct.
And what's the story behind the spoiler?
Okay. In 1966, NASCAR ran these cars on the big track. And they had a problem with them wanting to lift up in the back.
Okay.
So NASCAR gets with Dodge engineers. And this is what I've researched and I've come up with. I'm not just telling a fabled story here.
Okay.
Right? So they get with Dodge engineers. Dodge engineers design this spoiler.
And it's not very tall.
Not tall at all, but it was tall enough to deviate the lift. Now, when this happened, this made this car the number one production vehicle with a production spoiler.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Now, for 1966, if you purchased the 426 Hemi, it came with a spoiler and nothing else.
Okay.
But with 67, Dodge made this a dealer-installed option.
Oh, okay.
And however, it was available with this car, and that's why I chose to find one and put it on this car.
Right. And it's a super cool, like, add-on to the car, and that's a great story. Thanks for sharing. I didn't know that this was the first car to ever have a spoiler. That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. And if you do your history and go to from 1968 up, what did we have? We had the Superbird.
The Daytona.
We had the Plymouth. You know, the Plymouth and the Dodge Daytona, yeah. Well, there were spoilers all over everything.
That's for sure.
But this thing here is the first, number one, for a production. Now, production is the key word.
Production, yeah.
That's the key word right there.
All right. Well, we're going to move around the car and see what else we can find. So looking at the front end of the Charger, if you remember back to episode, I think it was 5, I had a 67 Coronet RT on. This does have a similar look to it, but it's not the same, right?
That's correct, yes.
So it has actual roll-away headlights on this?
Correct. They turn 180 degrees by an electric motor.
Okay, and obviously it has the emblem in the front. This hood would have been flat, right? You added the...
No, this hood is exactly like the one that was on a 67 Dodge Coronet.
Okay.
The only difference is that I put this louver, which came on a Coronet RT.
Yep.
But it's exact same hood.
Okay, so the Charger and the Coronet shared a hood, and you put the RT style louvers on, right?
I did. Yes,
right.
I did.
And again, you can kind of see the shark fin, if you will, for the turn signal up front. Again, showing that it's a 67 and not a 66. And a 66 had the same grille, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Has the same exact grille.
Okay. So
yes.
yeah, the Gen 1s were the same across the grille.
Gen 1 Chargers are both the same.
Okay.
In the front.
Okay, cool. Well, how about we take a second and pop the hood and check out that 383.
Let's do it.
So we've got the hood popped, and you're looking at the factory 383 block that came in this car in 1967, which is saying something that you had something last that long. What have you all done to the engine to kind of give it a little bit more oomph, if you will?
I had the engine bored 30 over.
Okay.
Replaced everything inside the engine with the exception of the rods.
Okay.
And I'm talking crankshaft, everything, all bearings and everything was replaced with brand new. I've got aluminum heads by 440 Source out of California.
Yep.
That widened it, woke it up quite a bit.
For sure.
I got a Mopar intake manifold and a Edelbrock AVS2 carburetor. It's brand new for 2018,
okay.
That carburetor is. I've updated the AC system. The car came with air conditioning from factory.
Oh, it's a factory air car. Awesome.
Factory air car. But you can't get 12 anymore, so I just updated to 134. Aluminum radiator is probably the best I ever spent in money because it really cooled this thing down.
For sure, they do an awesome job.
Mopars always like to heat up.
Yep.
They had a record of that stuff, so I've solved that problem. What else here? Let's see.
It looks like it was power brake car.
It was also from factory, a power brake car.
Oh, wow.
And a power steering car.
All right, so highly optioned car from the factory, and it retains the block. That's pretty awesome, and I'm excited to jump in and go for a quick ride. So riding along in Eric's 67 Charger here, one way to tell the difference between a 66 and 67 is actually the interior. The center console here, it breaks off before the rear seat. On a 66, it goes all the way back to the rear seats. This does have 4 buckets in it, which is pretty incredible. Like, that's just such a cool feature to me. Eric has them laid down because he actually just left a car show where, ironically enough, he won Best of Show, and he got this monster trophy that, because the hatch is so big, it actually fits back there. So that was a plus for having something that has the carrying capacity of a pickup truck, I guess. At the beginning of the episode, I talked about like how much I love these cars, and that they're so high up on my list of Mopars. They're in like 5, 6 for my bucket list of Mopars. And the reason for that is my dad's a Chevy guy, and I remember as a 16, 17-year-old kid, there was one of these for sale, a 66, for sale at an auction. And my dad, who is this like devout Chevy guy, goes, "Man, that's a cool car." And I was like, if it could convert my dad into thinking that it's a cool car, it has to be a cool car. And he was 100% right. The more research I did about him and the more I looked into him, I was like, no, those things are bad. And they kind of they play second fiddle to the Gen 2 Chargers because they became famous because of the Dukes of Hazzard, Bullet, and things like that. But these cars are starting to gain popularity, which they should, because they are super cool with so many neat little features. One thing about it is actually the dash, right? The lights behind the dash. It doesn't use a standard bulb. What is it called again?
Called electroluminescence.
And they give off a beautiful, even glow at night. And it's a shame that we're filming during the day because that'd be a cool picture. Yeah. But you have to Google that because they're pretty awesome, aren't they?
They are awesome. It's kind of an aqua color.
Yeah.
And what powers them is that there's a power pack on the right-hand side under the glove compartment. Changes 12 volts to 250.
So it can kill you, is what Eric is saying.
I think it would give you an awful shock.
Yeah, so Google search an image on that because it's pretty awesome. Eric, we're going to shift it into overdrive and learn a little bit more about you now that we've learned a lot about the car. First thing I always ask you is, why the Mopar brand?
Oh, well, that's no-brainer. I was in military 25th Infantry Division in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. And in 1966, we knew we were going to Vietnam, so I go down to Waikiki Beach by myself and stayed a day or two down there. And while I was there, I'm walking down the main drag of Waikiki Beach, and I look up and I see this car coming, had no headlights, and I said, what is that? And I stopped and watched him. The next light down, he had to stop, and the whole rear end lit up with 6 bulbs. I said, oh my God, I've got to have me one of them. So it came true. After I got into Vietnam, I contacted the dealer in Detroit, Michigan, and ordered one. And actually the rest is history, as they say. I purchased it, and I took it to Germany with me. And while over there, I sold it after a year and a half.
Okay.
Wish that I hadn't done that. But one unique thing about this car is that I have the 2 keys that I kept from the new vehicle. They now service this vehicle.
That's pretty awesome. That's a great story that you rekeyed this to match the one you bought, you know, factory fresh, if you will.
Back in the day, I was 22 years old. I had a chunk of change in my pocket for 1967, and had a brand new car, and what else could you have at that time, you know?
Right, yeah, for sure.
And the fact that I made it out of Vietnam alive.
Oh, there you go.
That's a lot of them didn't. I had 5 guys that didn't make it out. They're on the wall in D.C., but
okay.
That's the way it was, you know.
Right. So that's kind of why you love this car, but why the brand? Why the whole brand? Why the Mopar brand?
Well, when I first saw it, I automatically said, that's it. That's the car I'm going to buy new.
Okay.
And I did. Just because it happened to be a Mopar was coincidental.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I get that.
And that's all I can say is just the fact that when I saw this thing, I said, I'm going to own that car, and I did. See?
Okay.
So, and it happened to be a Mopar.
Okay, that's fair. So, all right. So then, in that case, what is it about this specific car that you love?
The style.
The style, yeah.
The style, the fastback, the hidden headlights in the front, the full course tail light lens, and it's just an awesome car. And sadly, the 67 is much rarer than the 66 because there were 14,666 units sold to the public in 67.
Okay.
Now,
yeah, they were retooling for the body change going into 68.
Yeah, exactly. They sold twice again as many in 66 as they did in 67.
Okay.
Now, some figures have it at 15,788 built. That's true. But there were 14,666 units actually sold to the public. Now, what happened to those in between is anybody's guess.
Okay.
You know.
So if you could have one other Mopar, what would it be? Well,
my ambition someday, if they continue to make them, would be a Challenger 392 Scat Pack Shaker.
Okay, one of the new ones, all right. That's
one of the new ones, yes.
All right. And I mean, you got that AC rocking right now, so are you normally windows up or windows down?
Oh, normally up.
Oh yeah, right?
Normally up, because I don't want stuff blowing in or around, messing up my interior.
That's fair. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on and sharing this car. Thank you for your service. To everybody that's watching the episode, you got any questions, of course, hit us in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Go to Facebook and Instagram, search your part to see still pictures of this beautiful car or ask questions. And as always, until next time.